Hey everybody, I'm Derek. Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for being here with me today. Thank you for clicking on my video on my review of the Milwaukee chop saw. I've had this chop saw for coming up on almost 2 years now. I haven't used it every single day. I'm also a DIYer level of guy as far as welding and fabrication and things like that goes that you'd be using this saw for, so you're not getting this from a professional's perspective. Of course, if you are a pro, you're probably going to be looking for a dry cut saw anyway. I don't know, if you are a pro and you are looking at picking up this Milwaukee saw, let me know down in the comments below. It'd be cool to know if there's professionals out there looking at the Milwaukee chop saw to pick up for working with every single day. Unfortunately, you're not getting the perspective of somebody who's done that here in my review. For everybody else that's here from a DIYer, farm and ranch, homesteader, hobbyist kind of person, I've got quite a bit of experience comparatively with this chop saw that I feel like I can give you a pretty decent review. Just wanted to lay that out there first before we get into the review. Alright, so let's just get some of the specs out of the way here. Pretty much everything can be seen right here on this number plate. It is a 120 volt tool. It runs at 15 amps, 3900 rotations per minute. It is a 14-inch abrasive saw with a 1-inch arbor. It has a 5-inch cut capacity and comes with a 5-year warranty. So a number of years ago, I bought this online from Northern Tool for I think $139. Looks like it's up to $199 right now, but I'm sure that it goes on sale for at least a little less than that once in a while. The price point on a red and white Milwaukee chop saw was one of the big things that drew me to it, especially at that $139 coming from Northern Tool. So I want to use this clip as a little example of problems with chop saws in general, not just the Milwaukee chop saw. You'll notice that I pick up the chop saw a little bit and put it back down and pick it up and put it down while cutting this metal, and I'm not cutting through it very quickly, and that is a problem with all abrasive chop saws because if you heat up that grinding wheel too much, I'm not sure exactly what happens, but it kind of glazes over the actual cutting portion and it doesn't want to cut your steel. And that's what's going on here. It's not wanting to cut it real quick. And so what I do is I just take that off. This is probably not the right way. Somebody will probably tell me how dumb I am for doing this or whatever. But I just kind of tap it on the concrete, just go all the way around it and tap it on the concrete, breaking off that glazed over edge. I'll stick the blade back on and it'll be cutting just like brand new again. And so that's just one thing to be aware of when you have a chop saw like this, is that if it starts slowing down on your cutting, you probably have heated up the wheel too much and glazed over that cutting edge. So finally, getting into my experience and my opinions with this, we're going to do a good, bad, and ugly on this chop saw, starting with the ugly and ending with the good. So getting right to it, the ugly, the worst thing about this saw is that when I turn the back, we'll just call it the backstop, the back plate, I'm not really sure what to call it. It's the black piece of metal that can be adjusted to create angles in your cuts. And when I have adjusted that, especially like to a steep 45-degree angle, which is about all that it will go, I find that when I am clamping down the workpiece, that if I even put like a moderate amount of pressure on it, no matter how much I crank down that plate, that back adjustment for creating the angle, it always wants to pull straight. And so I have to be really careful about how hard I'm clamping down, and it can just be a real pain in the neck. Which pretty much brings me to my second part of what I would consider kind of ugly, is that this chop saw is not easily adjustable. It's really cumbersome, and I could probably do something to make it not so cumbersome, like getting a ratcheting wrench or something that always stays with the chop saw that can loosen the screw adjustments back there on that backstop. So I can cut the angles, but it's just not a very user-friendly saw when it comes to changing that for cutting angles. Every time you do it, you have to pull out the wrench that's included with it and go and, manually turn that nut. It just takes a lot of time to change the angle. It's not very quick, not very efficient. It'd be nice if they'd come up with something that's just like a half turn handle or like a full turn handle or something like that. Kind of like some other saws that I've seen that are really the cold cutting saws, just to make it a little bit more user friendly and make it just a little bit quicker to use. But honestly, you know, it works. It's just a little bit cumbersome and whatnot. So it's a good thing that I'm not in production. I'm mostly just doing this all for myself and for YouTube. So that's something to keep in mind. Continuing on with the bad, I would say that the handle on this thing, this is totally a personal thing. You may not even give one care in the world about it if you buy this saw, but the handle where the trigger is, where you grab to push down and make your cut, I think is just the goofiest looking thing ever. and it's not at a really good angle. It's just kind of awkward to use. I don't know why they couldn't just put one of those regular pull down like D handles like what's on the DeWalt chop saw. That would pretty much do it for the bad. Pretty much everything else about the saw is good. A lot of power, cuts through things really, really quickly. Very, very reliable. And I want to talk a little bit about the guard. The guard is really, really big, and they do a really good job of keeping it out of the way to where I can still, you know, get the work done and make the cuts and everything. But it really keeps the sparks down really well, keeps them down and out of the way, and puts them just right there on the table instead of in other places. Not that it's perfect, but you know, you can't really ask for it to be perfect. It just does a really good job overall, in my opinion. So not that this is unique to the Milwaukee chop saw or anything, but one feature that's nice about it is you can flip up the threaded part there that keeps the clamp locked down, that makes your small adjustments and make these big adjustments. I think those are pretty much on all metal cutting chop saws like this across the board, unless you get a really cheap bad one, you know, I don't know. But so that's a pretty nice feature to have, to make these big quick adjustments on this chop saw without having to go through and make the small adjustments, wasting a lot of time. The base there of the whole saw is made out of stamped steel. I definitely would not mind seeing cast iron base like some of the old Milwaukee chop saws I've seen. My grandpa had one that he threw away not too long ago because the motor got all burned up, and but it had a really heavy duty cast iron base. It'd be kind of nice to still see that on these, but definitely the stamped steel is totally adequate. Overall, pretty much everything on this saw is pretty stout, high quality. Good. It's definitely got good build quality all the way around. Other than that little clamping issue that I wish we could fix. But yeah, everything's pretty much made out of metal parts. So that's pretty much going to be it, guys. I wish I had a whole lot of experience with a bunch of different chop saws so that I could explain, you know, what features on this I like better than the others. But I'm just coming at you from pretty limited experience, where I pretty much only use this and then a cold cut saw that I used to use at work. When I was in a position where I was using that at my current job a lot more than I am now. But just know that after 2 years, the saw is still just running really, really strong, and it's getting a lot of work done for me. It's cutting a lot of steel. I really don't have too many complaints. Definitely the biggest one being that clamping issue when cutting with angles, but that's really pretty much it. Overall, it's a really good saw, and if you're thinking of picking one up, there'll be a link in the description below to Northern Tool's website, right where you can pick this up. Not that Northern Tool sponsored this or anything. It's just the place where I picked it up the cheapest. So if you want to pick it up for pretty cheap, less than $200, hopefully sometime when they put it on sale or whatever, you can click on that and hopefully find it there for that price, or keep it in mind. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next video.